going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and you don't see my pretty sexy face, so you know I'm not alone. Let's rampage all over Guapo. I'm tired. That's the best I'm going to come up with.
That is right. Hola, mis amigos. Senor Guapo is back again for another AEW All Elite, baby!
You already bought the t-shirt, didn't you?
Not yet. It's happening probably, like, tomorrow.
So let's just get this straight for everybody, right? Because as much as I love doing this show, real life comes first. We didn't have you on the show forever, and then we did the preview for All Out, and then we announced our plan to start doing Dynamite reviews. Yes. So of course, here you are doing the Rampage review with me.
Yes, because it was very tired in here. For some viewers that may possibly know or may not know, I live in South Louisiana where we just had a massive hurricane, and I work in retail grocery.
And you've had company.
And I've had lots of people at my house because, thankfully, my house was spared from the storm. However, friends of mine have not been, as well as family members, so people have been coming here in and out. It's ridiculously tired at my house 24/7 lately. So, you know.
And let's be real, like, as much as we do like to come and have a lot of fun here, I've said it, you've said it, Jake said it, Kristen said it, we've all said it in various ways. We all like to come here and have fun, but real life has to come first.
Absolutely.
So
wrestling's always a great escape from reality. And
it is.
It's always great to come here and talk to you, Spaz, about wrestling, especially when we're talking about AEW, All Elite Wrestling.
Well, Jake and I literally just posted the funeral for NXT, so that's about where we're sitting. And I don't know,
my old friend,
we're gonna divert straight away. I'm gonna guess that you didn't watch SmackDown. They've been doing. No. Actually, I will say where it used to be NXT.
I have not witnessed Brock Lesnar's man bun for my own eyes, other than one YouTube clip from SummerSlam. Was it SummerSlam that he came? Yeah. Okay, yeah. So one clip from SummerSlam. I witnessed the man bun, and at that point, I was like, I'm good. I don't need now.
Smiling, happy, babyface Brock Lesnar with the ponytail is probably one of the
Does he still have the shitty goatee?
Sort of. It's kind of bigger now, but I'm just gonna say, smiley babyface Brock Lesnar with the ponytail is probably one of the most unintentionally creepy things WWE has done in a long time. But what I will say is, as Jake and I spoke about in the previous episode, NXT is going through some changes. I'm going to give it a week. We're going to look at it next week. Jake and I are going to review the new and improved, quote-unquote, NXT and see how that goes. Anybody listening, please stay tuned for that. But at the end of the ad for it this week, it's like, hey, this is the new NXT. And then for just about a flash, it flashed up as NXT 2.0. And I'm just like, A, that's really lame. B, it's also sort of a shot at 2.0, but mostly it's really lame. I will say, the one thing, and this is the only positive I really pulled out of the conversation Jake and I had, if the commercial, because it's all sort of splashes of concept art, there's no actual footage in the commercials, but if the concept art is even close to accurate, the way they've laid out the arena looks a lot better than the CWC, because the CWC was a bit claustrophobic and all that kind of thing. So that part of it I'm kind of intrigued about. Jake and I, some point next week, probably Thursday, going out Friday, we'll see how it flies or fails. But yes, Rainbow Fireworks NXT is definitely a thing. And yeah, for me, Friday is SmackDown, AEW, and Impact, because with Thursday being the recording night, no matter who I'm recording with, I don't catch Impact when it's happening, so I just save it. I watch it on Bali Rules the next day, and it's usually what I do as I'm editing what we're doing right now. So there's 5 hours of wrestling for me on a Friday now. Impact is actually pretty good.
I'll be honest, I have not been keeping up with Impact, but I've been hearing that it's been good. So
yeah, it's sort of like when NXT UK started up again, and they obviously didn't have a crowd because they were recording in a studio and whatever, and everybody was kind of like, oh, they're doing some really good shit, but it's in a bad time slot, and nobody's there to watch it, and it doesn't have a crowd, and we wish this was better. Impact, to me, and it's why I started like previewing the shows and just doing little bits and bobs about it, it's doing stuff that I wish was happening in front of more people, because it's like 2 rows of fans surrounding the ring, and that's about it. I wish it had an audience. I wish it had more people giving it a shot. I wish it had like equal numbers of people that don't like it and like it watching it, because at least it would be in the conversation more. The fact that it's on Twitch, because a lot of places don't have the particular channel that it's on, like
it's on Access TV, right?
I believe so.
Okay. I don't get it.
I always end up watching it the next day. I go to Watch Wrestling 24 or Bolly Rules, and they have the entire like hour and 20-minute clip just there for you to watch, and it's all on. Because if you watch, I did watch it on Twitch a bit before it moved over to YouTube Live, but YouTube Live requires a subscription, and I'm not doing that. But also, like, all of their like commercial breaks, or what would be commercial breaks if they're on TV, is just like old footage, old matches and shit, which is kind of cool, and it gives a little bit of retro every week, but I don't need retro every week. And most of the people in the retro are either in WWE or in AEW. Like, you're seeing a lot of like Kaz and Daniels stuff. You're seeing obviously a lot of Samoa Joe, AJ Styles stuff. But I mean, I'm a little bit biased. Their X Division champion is the Destiny World Champion. Check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list, Josh Alexander. And I want to see that guy go like straight to the moon. I want to see that. At this point,
it should be the Spaz Phoenix take a shot anytime Spaz mentions Destiny.
Hey man, the Destiny show I've got coming up on Halloween night. That was almost called Halloween Havoc, but I think they've changed it to like Raising Hell or something like that. Josh Alexander versus Luke Gallows for the Destiny title. I don't know if you know who Aiden Prince is.
No.
Aiden Prince was if you remember the picture I showed you, the guy that got his head completely friggin' torn open at the last show that I was at. He's their Next Generation champion, which is kind of like their Intercontinental champion. Okay. So it's him and Kobe Durst, who's the guy that attacked him. They're having a steel cage, and their steel cage is like all rickety. Like, it's totally safe. Obviously, I'm not talking shit about the company, but it's just like a little bit rickety enough to look unsafe, which is kind of cool. Jordan Grace is going to be at Destiny for, I believe, the first time, and I think she's taking on Silesia Sparks, who's a local from around here, who cut a promo on me because she saw me in a Shotzi Blackheart t-shirt. So that's going to be good. So I'm, like, I got in through the AEW connection, but I've also already kind of been in because a lot of people I've been introduced to through Destiny had ties to Impact, and obviously when Josh Alexander became their Destiny champion and then went on to be the Scott D'Amore actually came to a Destiny show to present Josh Alexander with his Impact contract.
Okay.
Which was a really cool moment. Josh Alexander took the title off of Pete Dunne.
Right, I remember that.
I was really hoping that he was going to do option C when Kenny was still the champion, and we could have Josh Alexander versus Kenny Omega. I mean, who doesn't want an all-Canadian AEW championship match? Or Impact championship match. But then they did that with Christian, so it's fine. We've gone way off track already.
Yes.
Here to talk about Rampage, but we didn't get to talk about Dynamite because life took you away and all that kind of thing.
Yes.
Big takeaway from this past Wednesday's got to be the stare down between Daniel Bryan and Kenny Omega, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, even with my opinion of Omega, which we've been over a million times, I'm pumped for this match when it happens. I wish I was one of those Kenny Omega, oh my god, he's a god fans, so I could be up there with them. I'm like half a step under, because I'm sorry, much love to Bryan Danielson. Adam Cole got a bigger pop out of me. It is what it is. And Adam Cole's taking on Kaz next week on Dynamite. So if I can get you on here with me, we're going to talk about that shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, we can talk about it at the end. Dynamite for next week looks stacked. It looks like a lot of fun. Rampage this week.
Yes. Opened up with Andrade versus PAC.
Opened up with Andrade versus PAC. Now, I will say this. We've only had about 4 Rampages at this point. Just about every Rampage has opened up with the match that I thought was going to be the main event.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you figure this match was pulled from pay-per-view for, travel reasons or outside of AEW reasons and all that kind of thing.
Right.
But we had a little nice hometown moment at the end, which sort of justifies it, I guess, send the fans home happy. PAC and Andrade, first of all, this was supposed to be on pay-per-view. Second of all, they didn't even get entrances.
Right.
Like, I'm bummed about that. Like, I know that this is pre-taped. I know not all of them are like individual shows. Some of them are taped like right after Dynamite, wherever they are that week. Not all of them are going to be in that huge Chicago stadium thing. But they got to figure out their timing a bit better, because this, like, half the roster getting a jobber entrance is going to affect it in the long run. The match was great. The match took a long time to warm up, in my opinion.
It did. However, once it got to the hot point of the match, I mean, it stayed a 10 for the rest of the match.
Oh, yeah. And I will say, in the early going, there were 3 specific spots. I don't know if these are the specific spots that stuck out for you. One was we all know Andrade's, like, Tree of Woe stomp spot, but the fact that he did it to the outside, and he did it with so much force that he took himself out to the floor,
yes,
really stuck out. The split leg moonsault, especially when commentary went on and on and on, talking about the comparisons to Rob Van Dam, which I thought was really... And the top rope Rana is always going to get a pop out of me. And then eventually, absolutely, like you say, when it hit that 10 gear, like you stop noticing individual spots, and it more becomes
the foot on the gas did not get let up very much once they got to high gear. I mean, honestly, I think start to finish, it was a good match.
It kind of feels like the background story now, and I don't know if this would have been effective differently if it was on the pay-per-view, but now that how can I say this? Now that the 2/3 of Death Triangle are the champions, and now that they've had that wicked awesome cage match with the Bucks, which just felt way more important, way more impressive, and we can go on for days about how great that cage match was.
I feel like that cage match is its own video in itself, just from start to finish.
I mean, Jake and I took some time to go over the Britt Baker Thunder Rosa Lights Out match, so we could definitely do something just talking about how good that match was. Eventually, at some point, we're gonna like just review a pay-per-view. It'll have to be one that's on a Saturday, because fuck me doing all that and then going to work on Monday. But
I totally agree with you.
But I feel like, because it was sort of, they had this story going, and it's sort of a cheesy story, and I didn't really like it to begin with. But this idea that Andrade was trying to pull the Lucha Brothers to his side, right? And PAC was going to try and hold on to them because they're his friends and whatever. And that's a cheesy story to begin with. And now that they have had that awesome pay-per-view, like, main event worthy spot, and they've become champions, they feel way more important than to be the thing that these two guys are fighting over. If that makes any sense. So it kind of makes this match, even though the match was good, it sort of sucks the meaning out of it. Because the end was special.
Chavo helping Andrade win.
Well, Chavo and the other, who's the lawyer translator guy?
I don't remember his name, to be
honest.
I think
his name's like something generic. It's like Luis or something like that. He basically gets up on the apron to show the referee that he's got a shock stick or whatever. Right. And while that distraction is happening, Chavo runs in and hits him with, I didn't see it until the replay, but he hits him with his iPad, and Andrade gets the win. Which I'm like, oh, okay, we ended off this really cool match, even though the meaning is kind of been taken out of it. The guys worked hard in the match. They were supposed to have a spot on the pay-per-view, so this is the make good for that. And it's ruined by, oh, look, I've got all these guys to back me up. But then they flipped it, because Andrade watches the replay, and he's pissed off that Chavo helped him.
Right.
So they could potentially be going in this, like, heel with integrity. Like, I'm an asshole, I'm full of myself, whatever, but I want to show why I'm full of myself. I don't want I want to do bad things, but I don't want to do that bad thing.
Right.
My question to you is, if he's already dumped Chavo, like, does Chavo have anything else to do in that company? Really?
I mean, besides helping backstage, being a producer, or anything like that, I don't see Chavo really being...
I mean, as part of the show. Like, as a character.
Not too much, no.
Like, if he turned face, he could be, like, mentor to somebody like Fuego. Because he's not having a good life right now.
Don't get me wrong, Chavo and Fuego together, I would totally put that together.
Chavo and Fuego get destroyed by the Lucha Brothers.
That, or you put him with Sammy. I mean, Sammy doesn't need a mouthpiece or anything, but I mean, just like the mentorship-ish of Chavo and Sammy would be great.
I don't get, like, and Sammy's another one we'd have to go back to Dynamite for this, but, like, Sammy came out to do his, like, I'm going to hold up all the signs while the picture-in-picture is going on, but that was the only time we saw him the whole night, wasn't it?
Yes, that was the only time we got Sammy yesterday.
What like,
Wednesday.
I haven't heard anything, and I bug Jake every now and then, like, hey, have you heard anything about so-and-so? Like, we haven't seen them in a while. How are you keeping somebody as popular as Sammy Guevara off the show?
Sammy's vlog.
Oh, dear.
I'm being honest. He's staying relevant because of his own YouTube channel. I'm sure. I doubt you don't watch it. I'm guessing.
Probably not.
Okay,
come on. So. You know my theory. I don't believe in a wrestling company giving fans homework.
Yes. However, this wasn't like AEW is not giving anybody homework. This is something Sammy's been doing since before AEW, but not the point.
There's a lot of wrestling content.
Oh, there's a
lot of wrestling content.
You know how many fucking people have just vlogs with AEW?
Yeah.
Just sidebar. You got the Bucks with BTE. They come out on Mondays. Fucking Sammy drops his videos on Tuesdays. Ethan Page has a fucking YouTube show on Wednesdays. I think Allie and also Evil Uno put up on Thursdays.
Doesn't Brandy have some like cooking show?
Yeah, we're not talking about that.
We're not talking about their rip-off Ms. and Mrs. show that's coming either, are we?
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to watch it.
Oh, good Christ, man!
Look, it's trash TV at its finest, and it has wrestling's most best couple in the forefront.
Really? Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch are on the show?
I said they're wrestling's best couple.
Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch are on the show?
No, I'm not talking about your WWE trailer trash.
No, in all honesty, like, fucking, you can throw Sean Spears and Peyton Royce in there. You can throw Adam Cole, Bay and Mrs. Bay out there.
Burt Baker, yes.
Cody and Brandy can go suck the biggest fuck.
I mean, I had no problem with them. But anyway,
did you know she's not white? Anyway. Moving swiftly on.
But the Sammy thing, just real quick, the Sammy thing, just throwing him out there, just doing his little cue card thing for the commercial, it keeps him on screen in a way, but it's also like, I mean, hey, you might not have a storyline set up for him right away, but they're going to work something in with him soon.
Yeah, but I don't want to see Sammy Guevara on an episode of Sorry Creative Has Nothing For You.
Right, I agree.
I'm not gonna do the typical criticism thing. AEW has brought in a lot of big names in the past little while that have made a lot of waves, made a lot of headlines. I don't want to see the Sammy Guevaras and the Jungle Boys and so on and so forth get lost in the shuffle. And I know I
don't think they will.
I don't think they will either. But I get to the end of a Dynamite or I get to the end of a thing, and it's just like one name will come in this week, or even maybe the past 2 weeks. It's been Sammy Guevara specifically, but I'll get through a whole show and I'll be like, that whole show was awesome, and then somebody will say, hey, I don't think so and so has been around in a while, and I'll be like, well, fuck. And it's dangerous because the show's so good it doesn't let you notice that person that you miss isn't there. So it's
not to cut you off, but
yeah, go for it.
I know exactly what you're saying and what you mean. However, I can't remember who it was I was watching the other day. I don't know if it was Simon Miller or one of the other What Culture guys.
As long as it's not Sidgwick, we're good.
I want to say it was someone from What Culture.
Yeah.
But then again, it might have been somebody else I was watching in one of the random YouTube things that just pop up on my screen. But somebody made a good point that it's not a bad thing about bringing all these big name talents in, because then you give your viewers something different to watch here and there, while also giving, hey, this guy just had a major angle, he might need a rest.
Of course.
Let him have a month off or something to rest and heal and cycle everybody through. So
and this is what I mean. Like
it keeps the show fresh in one way, but I mean also another way. Yeah, you end up drowning from the fact that yes, you do want that same character. You want to see Sammy Guevara every single week because you love Sammy Guevara. Yeah. But hey, there's underlying.
I think the main eventers can I think the main eventers can cycle in and out more, like, because Adam Cole doesn't need to build his name. CM Punk doesn't need to build his name. Bryan Danielson, Kenny Omega, anybody sort of at the top echelon, even Darby. I would even say Darby Allin at this point, right? Mm-hmm. It's the mid-carders that sort of should be there every week. Right. And as much as I love Sammy Guevara, they haven't positioned him as a main eventer. I want them to, like, in a positive, like, shove him down our throats in a positive way, because I think he could be. So keep the rotation at the top, because you've got enough big names to do so. I don't need to see Adam Cole and CM Punk and Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega every week.
Correct, I agree.
I would rather those guys cycle out than the guys at the bottom that are trying to, not at the, I shouldn't say at the bottom, that's shitty, but the ones in the middle
with the less of a name stake.
Yeah, I want to see the ones that are trying to get up to there, because then you figure, like, if you're cycling in and out, that's a lighter schedule. You work to get to the status where you can get yourself a lighter schedule. Like, it's almost like a reward at the end of the tunnel type of idea. I just thought,
I mean, part of it's also, I mean, just like Sammy, for example. I mean, he's been at the top, one of the people at the top of the card for the past year or so with doing everything with Jericho and Inner Circle.
True, but that's another thing about the faction setup in there. Like, I don't want AEW to think, like, oh, we've given Ortiz a lot of main event time because Jericho's a main eventer and he was sort of with Jericho. Like, that's not the same thing either. I thought, branching off of the Jericho thing, I thought we were going to go MJF and Guevara, because I thought that was like the natural next progression. And then we went into this weird Pillman thing that we're gonna talk about.
I think this Pillman thing is just to help give Pillman a little bit extra,
which is fine.
I think that's the next natural progression. I think the next natural progression is going to be Guevara and MJF.
I figure you got to put Guevara either in a feud with somebody like an MJF, or you got to get him into that TNT title mix.
Correct, I agree.
Don't do it right now. Don't do it right now while Miro's destroying everybody. Do it when you're starting to have competitors that are putting, like, chips in his armor. And Sammy Guevara can be one of those.
Right.
And I mean, even if it gets handed over to Eddie Kingston at the Arthur Ashe show, neither one of them are really heels, but Sammy Guevara versus Eddie Kingston is a really intriguing match.
Yes.
Very much of a different, and what's it called? Inner Circle seems to kind of all be doing their own thing, even though they are still a unit, so let him go off and get his own prize. Santana and Ortiz just said, hey, we got the FTR leech off our back, and now we're taking on the rest of the roster. They're going in their direction. Jericho's obviously going to go do Fozzy stuff, I think, soon. I think they're touring.
He actually already started the tour this week.
I think he's over in the UK, or he's going over to the UK, right?
I think he's going to UK this weekend.
So if he's going off in his direction, I don't know what Jake Hager's doing as far as, like, the MMA stuff, but Sammy Guevara,
I think he's supposed to be training right now for a fight. I want to say he has a fight lined up for Bellator. I don't remember.
So if everybody went wildly off in their own direction, I don't want Sammy Guevara to be the one left behind, because under Jericho, he was the next star in that group, with not meaning any offense to anybody else. What's crazy about this is I wouldn't have noticed that he wasn't on Dynamite if they didn't bring him out during the commercial to do his commercial shtick.
Right.
So I think they bit themselves in the foot a little bit there. But that has nothing to do with the show tonight. What does have to do with the show tonight is Darby and Sting coming out to address Shawn Spears and Tully Blanchard, because all of a sudden they have a problem with Sting and Darby Allin kind of out of nowhere.
Right.
I mean,
I don't know.
Here's the thing, and here's the nitpicky stuff that I'm not being serious about. I'm not picking on AEW for. I just think it's a little bit funny. Tully Blanchard came out on Dynamite, or not on Dynamite, but in the backstage at Dynamite, talking shit about Sting. As, oh, you're riding, Darby Allin's coattails, and while I tell you you're riding coattails, let me bring over this guy whose coattails that I'm riding, and my guy's gonna fight your guy. And then later on in the night, they put up the graphic. It's like, hey, Darby Allin versus Shawn Spears for next Wednesday, which I think is great. Shawn Spears is another one that's incredibly underutilized, even though he's in a faction that's prominent, and Darby Allin is one of the best things in AEW, period, point blank. But they announced the match for next week, and then they announced that on Rampage, Darby Allin and Sting were going to respond to Tully Blanchard's challenge. And it's like, right, you've already made the match, so what's the response? They came out, they talked some shit. Darby Allin said that Shawn Spears was a generic piece of shit, which is fine. Sting calls out Tully Blanchard as if they're gonna have a match, which
I kind of don't want, because I feel like Tully can break a hip at any moment, and then I love Sting, but man's getting old.
More than 10 years ago, Sting and Hulk Hogan had a match in Impact. And people were making fun of Impact at the time for having two old guys wrestle in the main event of their show. Right. If we get Sting versus Tully Blanchard, they've had Tully Blanchard wrestle on Dynamite. So it's why I can't completely laugh it off.
It was very minimal stuff, but...
It was, and it was hidden in a tag team match, and this would probably be hidden in a tag team match as well, but I don't think you need to. They've done a pretty good job of, using the legends as managers. Sting can obviously still go to a certain extent, so they've let him do things, but, look at Blanchard, look at Jake the Snake, look at Taz with the Team Taz thing. They've done a pretty good job. Not every manager needs to come in and try to have one more wrestling match.
Right.
We don't need brand new heel Billy.
For Taz's case, he doesn't have full range and feeling in one of his hands still. Oh, so. Yeah.
And he's pretty open talking about that. I will say, and I said it on the Dynamite review, so I don't want to repeat myself too much here, I don't think anybody had CM Punk versus Taz in a promo battle on their bingo card tonight.
However, I will. I know you talked about it in your other review, but God, I just can't wait to watch CM Punk and Ricky Starks.
Oh, for sure.
That's gonna be great.
It's kind of like, and I'm going to use the WWE example because both examples are CM Punk, right? Some of the best things about CM Punk versus Brock Lesnar was CM Punk versus Paul Heyman. Now, I think he's going to take on, what's his name, Powerhouse Hobbs first, who's not super great on the mic. So it's going to be, the best part of that is going to be him versus Taz on the mic. And that's okay. Because you've got managers for people that need managers, and you don't have managers for people that don't need managers. And it's all good. Darby and Spears on Wednesday, I think, will be great. I think it's the... actually, I'm not going to say... I was going to say it's the dark horse for best match of the night this coming Wednesday, but it's definitely not going to be the best match on the night.
No.
Or at least not the one with the most hype.
No, it won't. I think the one with the most hype, we can say it now. Oh, 1,000%.
And the thing is, 90% of that is Adam Cole. Adam Cole's first match in AEW, rah. But I think even though he's getting a fair amount of respect, I still think it's going under the radar how cool, ever since they broke up Kaz and Daniels, and Kaz kind of went off on his own and sort of developed this,
Elite Hunter.
The Elite Hunter, and they've said it on commentary, he's basically the Punisher of AEW. And it's subtle little things, he's not a heel, but he is still kind of an asshole. And it works. When he showed back up on Impact to be partner with Sami Callihan and who was the other guy? It was Sami Callihan and Eddie Edwards.
Eddie Edwards?
Yeah.
Okay.
Taking on it was the three of them taking on Omega and the Good Brothers. It was really good. The whole thing is Eddie Edwards and Eddie Edwards and Sami Callihan don't like each other, and they're the team that hates each other that I'm pretty sure are going to be champions eventually.
Right.
But he's just like, literally, because they have the relationship with Impact, the fact that he hates the Elite so much that he follows them somewhere else. Now, it's also a homecoming for him. Impact. Like, he's one of the OGs from Impact. But it's...
Back when he had hair.
Oh, man. Back when he had the Kazarian logo that was a definite ripoff of the Metallica logo.
Yes.
But yeah, no, it's going under the radar completely how good this Kaz Elite Hunter thing is. So I think, as much as we know Cole's going to win, I don't think it's going to be the squash that everybody thinks it's going to be.
I think Cole wins because of some sort of interference, probably by the stooge Brandon Cutler.
True. Yeah. I do think this, like, Elite Hunters team that's slowly developing, it's like Kaz and Christian and Bryan Danielson and the Jurassic Express. Yeah. I think there's some, like, I don't think it's going to be like a blood and guts necessarily, but like a more generic, like, leaning towards a Survivor Series type of thing is going to happen at some point before we get Danielson versus Omega. Or maybe after, who knows.
Yeah, before we get a payoff, that's what we'll get.
All right. Highlight of the night for me, I'm not going to lie, Team Baker versus Team Ruby Soho.
Mm-hmm.
This was a lot of fun.
Ruby Soho. Ruby Soho.
I mean, Triple H gets accused of just like playing whatever's in his CD player for NXT themes. I don't think Tony Khan is too far off of that either.
Well, it's an actual song, so.
Well, it is. Yeah. But what stuck out to me, like, obviously you got to build the story between Ruby Soho and Britt Baker, which is awesome, and obviously Baker, because she's a heel, she's got her cronies behind her. What hit me was all the tandem offense between what's her name, Chris Statlander and Riho.
Right.
Because they did a lot of like tandem spots that like you'd think they were an actual tag team. And I thought that was really cool. The fact that they're basically assembling every, like, super loved babyface because Britt Baker being over as a heel is something that they're trying to course correct a little bit. Like, she's such a good heel that she's popular.
Right.
So it's very hard for a babyface to get a babyface reaction when the heel is the babyface. Now, I love that. I love the dichotomy of that.
Well, at the very least, though, like, so with this having Ruby Soho being the babyface and Britt being the heel, you're still able to cheer for them equally and respectively how they're supposed to be cheered for or booed, just because Britt plays a heel just so well. But you can still also cheer for her because, I mean, we live in a weird world where we can cheer for heels now.
I mean, Roman Reigns is the most over thing on SmackDown, and I'm not even taking a dig at SmackDown. Like, all they had to do.
Hold on. I will take things I never thought I would say in 2021 for 200, Alex.
Yeah, but this is the thing though. Like, what they had to do to make him popular was make him an asshole because people got sick of him as babyface. And I think that problem, that like. Not John Cena specifically, but like sort of what John Cena was in his time. There's such a backlash to that, like not just in WWE, like through all of wrestling, that anything that's bad, anything that's an asshole, anything that's evil, anything that's like despicable, like CM Punk. I hate to keep going back to the WWE examples, but they're what I have. CM Punk was the most over he's probably been in his WWE run when he poured out Paul Bearer's ashes on the rampway on Raw.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Becky Lynch as a heel is going to work, and also Belair can fuck off. But yeah, I think eventually you're going to have to get Britt Baker cheered. There is such a good long-term story when they decide to pull the trigger on it. When Rebel finally gets sick of her shit. I don't think it'll necessarily happen with Jamie Hayter, because she's respectful to Jamie Hayter, because she brought her in to be the big muscle. She's the big weapon. Like, she looks up to Jamie Hayter in a sense, rather than just like kicking her around. Rebel is going to turn eventually. She's not the greatest in the ring. I'm not going to lie. I'm trying to be nice about it, but there will be a feel-good story, like Alex Riley getting out from under the Miz.
Right, exactly.
I think that's a cool story to tell. Jamie Hayter, who I don't know much about, is just walking out there looking like a beast, and Ruby Soho just loving life. I would love to dissect the big, the intricate spots of the match and all that kind of thing, but it was just fun. Like, it was 6 women that I all like to various degrees. Now, have to sort of caveat it every time. AEW's not where they need to be with their women's division yet. But they're making steps. My example was after All Out, there are a lot of big headline making names coming to AEW. Malachi Black, Andrade, CM Punk, Adam Cole, Bryan Danielson,
Ashley Fleer.
Maybe, but no. My point is, like, the next ones coming are like Buddy Murphy, potentially Bray Wyatt, all that kind of thing, and then Ruby Soho. So out of all of those headlines, one of them is female, and I'm not even doing like an SJW bullshit thing, because everybody knows that's not where I go with shit, but that is a problem. Like, if you've got like 10 headlines and one of them is female, it's an indicator. Yeah. It's an indicator is all I'm saying. I'm not saying that I'm bummed to have any of the other guys there, but like, there's people, they picked up low-key, and I think we said this in the All Out preview, low-key, they seem to have quietly picked up Kiera Hogan, and I think that's great. I think that's great. When they decide to like put the rocket on her for a bit, I think that's going to be amazing. AKA better Sasha Banks. Moving on. Soho pins Rebel. I mean, anybody was going to eat the pin in this match. It was going to be Rebel, sort of tying back into what we've said. I did like the little touch at the beginning of Best Friends coming out with Statlander and like fist bumping all of her partners. Like, she's our friend. You're fighting with her tonight. You must be good too. Everybody has a fist bump. Everybody goes to the back. Again, not like earth-shattering, changing stuff, but just little touches that make it feel more real. And the whatever you call that thing that Statlander and Riho did, where she basically wore Riho like a backpack, and Riho was just like doing the bicycle kicks. I thought that was incredibly lame, but also incredibly funny, and I don't have a problem with it at all. Because literally, there was not a single bit of impact with any of those kicks. But it was still good.
Right.
It was still fun. It was Scotty 2 Hottie's worm of the match.
Let's just say it was them giving the people what they want.
Yeah. I'm surprised, actually. I mean, I know it's only a 1-hour show, so they got to condense everything. I'm surprised you didn't have the Best Friends back out there at the end and do like the 6-way. Gotta give the people what they want. And yeah, I'm gonna sound like a mushy asshole, but like, how happy does Ruby Soho look?
Oh, extremely happy. Like, her whole demeanor, just walking out there, you could tell she's enjoying it, and she's happy that the fans care about her.
Right, for sure. Like, she looked like, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say when she came out as the Joker at All Out, she looked like she was about to cry.
Yes, 100%. And the fact that fans were chanting her name before her music even hit.
Yeah, people were singing her entrance before they even knew that was actually her entrance.
Right.
It would be the only thing I could think of in WWE, when WWE went over to the UK specifically, and Bayley had a match, and they did the way, hey, whoa,
Bayley. Ooh, ah. I wanna know.
Can you imagine, when she was still a face, can you imagine if they had been able to get that music?
Right, exactly. But no, WWE would have never even attempted to get it.
Yeah, I will say...
Just because they're cheap.
I'm a bad person, right?
Why? Why are you a bad person, Spaz?
I should care about the Brian Pillman Jr. stuff. I should care about...
Pillman won. There we go.
The Pillman family stuff that happened on Dynamite and led to what we saw here tonight.
I'm not going to lie. I also didn't really care about this match too much. I mean, I get it. I get why it happened, but also the fact that Pillman hasn't built his name up enough to make this match
mean anything.
Terrible. Yeah, basically.
And the thing is, like, he's built himself up in a tag team. The team hasn't even built itself up, right?
Yes, and the fact that Griff Garrison's more over than he is.
Is he really?
Yes, Griff Garrison's way more over than Pillman.
And see,
the only thing Pillman got better is his mullet. And Pillman definitely has a sweet mullet.
Now, what I will say is, I always sort of do...
That's right, Mrs. Guapo. I'm going to grow my mullet.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Sorry, Mrs. Guapo's sitting next to me, shaking her head.
There's a lot of times in wrestling in general, specifically in AEW, where they're trying to show me somebody. In this case, it's Brian Pillman Jr., right? Like, they're trying to rectify the thing that we just said, right?
Right.
But they're doing it with somebody that I already care about, in Max Caster.
Right.
And here's the thing, right? And this might not be for everybody, and you guys have heard me say this when I've done podcasts with Jake before. I'm going to do it here with Guapo as well. I'm going to, before I give you my take on this, I'm going to distance myself from my co-host in case anybody's offended by what I'm about to say. I don't want anybody shitting on Guapo. Please shit on me. The fact that they came like full cancel culture guns blazing for Max Caster makes me cheer him more. It absolutely makes me cheer him more because it's bullshit, and it has the opposite effect of when wrestlers get Me Too'd or when wrestlers get speaking outed, and even if you've loved them for years, the whole wrestling crowd like turns on you on a dime. When you come with the cancel culture bullshit for stuff that was part of a fictional show, you've made me a fan of that person, even if I wasn't already a fan of that person. So every single time he walks out on that stage, on that show, on my TV, still with a job, I'm flipping up 2 middle fingers in support of Max Caster, because fuck off. And the rap was good.
I also enjoy Max Caster. So
I think they actually the fact that in the middle of his rap they actually took the piss out of it when who's his partner Bowens was like, you gotta watch what you say, man. We know you're on thin ice. It's really good. I will say, for getting us into Brian Pillman Jr., they did do all the right things. He was the hometown boy. We spent a lot of time, for fans that don't know, talking about his family, his lineage, whatever. There was the entire MJF promo that happened on Dynamite that was wow. And then, in addition to that, he's out there in his dad's gear in what I think was a 4 Horsemen vest, with the tiger stripe gear and all that sort of thing, with the Flying Brian. Yes. And they did everything they could to give this guy, whose dad a lot of people loved, and who's in his hometown, and he's just, hometown boy done good and all that kind of thing. They did all the right things. They gave him the win. They built the sympathy because he was dealing with a 2-on-1 advantage. After the match, when he was getting beaten down, they brought in the other hometown boy, Jon Moxley, to kind of put him over a little bit, give him a bit of the rub. They did all the right things, but at the end of the day, I saw a Max Caster match, and I saw Moxley for a minute. And none of that changes my opinion of Brian Pillman Jr. I'm sorry. I don't know what else you want to say about the match. Was fine. Like, the guy's not a bad wrestler. No, Max Caster's great.
Max Caster's a good wrestler. Pillman's good. Both Max Caster and Pillman are young. Like, they have a lot more years of wrestling underneath their belts to get to learn and become even better. So,
of course, yeah. Everything I'm saying, I should say, everything that I'm saying right now is with an open door. No pun intended. Like, right. This is what I think of him now. I would love him to come out and like have his match with MJF. I think it's happening at the Arthur Ashe show. I would love him to come out on that show against somebody like an MJF and blow me away and change my mind. But I'm not there right now, so I got to talk about the now. You know what I mean?
Right.
I wanted to ask you something that they're doing on Rampage specifically, and I think it's really cool. And if they keep doing it just on Rampage, I think it's going to stay cool. Mark Henry as an on-screen character doing the double pre-match interview before the main event every week. I think it's a really nice touch.
I agree.
And I like that it's a Rampage thing. Like, they haven't brought it over to Dynamite. They haven't started doing it on their pay-per-views all of a sudden. Like, it's a thing that happens on Rampage. And again, it's like the best friends fist bump thing. Like, it doesn't change the world. It's just a little different from what we're used to. And Mark Henry as an on-screen guy with a mic in his hand is, I won't say surprising, because he's not a bad guy on the mic in general, but in that role, he's really shining.
Yes.
Because he brings such a laid-back element to the commentary booth as well.
I mean, it's it's sexual chocolate. He's doing what he does.
Yes. I got nothing. Very, very quickly. Next Wednesday looks pretty good. We got Jade Cargill versus Layla Hirsch, which probably isn't setting a lot of people on fire. I really like Layla Hirsch. I don't like
I love Layla Hirsch.
I don't like Jade Cargill.
I could care less about Jade Cargill.
Yeah. She's going to hit me in the face with her dick. But I really like Layla. Layla Hirsch is just a feel-good wrestler. Like we've said it before, I don't think she's going to be in the title picture anytime soon, but she's just a feel-good wrestler. Like, I just put her on my screen for a couple minutes, I'll smile, I'll be sad when she loses, whatever. Darby versus Spears, we've already talked about. Kaz versus Cole, we've already talked about. Whatever else they build around that is going to be good. They're probably going to be spending a lot of time building towards the Arthur Ashe show, specifically Cody coming back and taking on Malachi Black, which, despite my feelings on Cody, that is going to be a big match. That's going to be popping, because is Arthur Ashe a bigger crowd than the Chicago show for Punk?
Yes, it's a larger venue, so
it's a tennis arena, isn't it?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
So there's going to be a lot more butts and seats.
All right. When they did the Chicago show for Punk's return, that was insane.
The last dance, or the first dance?
Yeah. Which was the second episode.
Yeah, the second episode of Rampage.
Now, I will say, I told you at the beginning I was gonna get your thoughts on a little piece of news that I read today. It's not earth-shattering, but it's
come on, hit me with it, Spaz. Hit me with your hard journalistic background.
I'm the furthest thing from a journalist. I can't even joke. If I want news, I go to Jake. It is what it is. No, but it was a little announcement put out from Impact Wrestling about their Bound for Glory show, which is basically their WrestleMania. They've time shifted Bound for Glory on that Saturday, October 23rd. Okay. Because there's a Saturday night Dynamite the same night.
Right. They've
time shifted the show. That pay-per-view isn't starting until 10 p.m.
Baby Jesus.
That's a lot. I think it's happening in Vegas. I'd have to double check it.
Yes, I remember. Yes, because I remember seeing Bound for Glory for being in Vegas. So,
yeah.
Holy shit!
That's
a late fucking pay-per-view.
They haven't announced a lot of matches right now. They're leading up to Victory Road.
Okay.
I think, which is in 2 weeks, which also is really good because we're getting. What are we getting? We're getting Ace Austin versus Christian Cage. We're getting. What else are we getting? I've lost my train of thought now. We're getting Chris Sabin versus Josh Alexander. We're getting Sami Callihan and Eddie Edwards versus Moose and W. Morrissey.
What about the Good Brothers?
I don't know what they're doing. I'd have to go back and look. We are getting Decay defending the Knockouts tag team titles. I love Decay.
Nice.
So Bray Wyatt, here's my unpopular take. Bray Wyatt is more suited for the creative style of Impact right now, and Bray Wyatt could be a star that brings them back to having the huge crowd that I want them to have. I want Bray Wyatt to go in there and interact with Decay. I want him to interact with Violent by Design. He can cross over into AEW and maybe have some interaction with the Dark Order, but he doesn't need to be their new leader. People need to stop with that. But I just thought that this was such a cool thing, not only because, like, obviously Impact and AEW don't want to take audience away from each other. They have the working relationship that they have, but also that's a lot of wrestling for a Saturday night.
So, I agree with you for the Bray Wyatt part. However, I pitched this to some of the other guys in like my wrestling group over here. What if Bray just simply becomes the traveling boogie monster?
Oh, like and does like a tour of the Indies type thing?
He goes around collecting heads.
Nice.
Essentially, like. Every single week he pops up either a different indie or he's popping up on AEW, he's popping up on Impact, he goes to New Japan, he goes to ROH, he hits every major promotion and shoves the middle finger of Vince McMahon down his throat every single week. Hell, come out with a fucking lantern on Vince's head.
Oh no.
That would send a message.
It would. The open door thing is a lot of fun, but I think even though you've got
the forbidden door is what you're trying to say there.
What did I say? The open door?
The open door, yeah.
Well, because it's not forbidden anymore, so it is the open door. The only door that's still closed is the one to WWE.
So much so it put Triple H into cardiac arrest. All right.
Jake and I did a podcast about people needing to be better about that shit, man. No, but I think even though like there is an open door, like you still have to say, like there's a difference between Christian, the AEW star, being at Impact because he's the Impact champion right now, and Christian being in Impact. Like wherever you go through all the open doors, like you still have to sort of establish where you're at, like Kazarian went over. Like the Good Brothers are on Dynamite, but they're still like Impact guys, I think.
Well, the Good Brothers, from what I understand, they're now technically AEW people, AEW guys.
Oh, I did not know that.
They only had like a 1-year contract with Impact.
Oh.
Yes, they.
Well, that kind of blows that example out of the water, but you get what I mean.
They had said something like that on their on their podcast.
I'm sorry, I don't have time to listen to all these podcasts, Guapo.
I mean,
some of us are busy.
I mean, I listen to it on the way home, driving home from work. It's mostly Gals and Anderson drunk off their asses talking. So it's fun.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, no, I just thought that was a neat bit of news that they time shifted. It's going to be interesting to see what the live audience does with a show that starts at 10 o'clock.
Absolutely.
I don't know what the time difference is between here and Vegas, and I'm not going to look it up right now. But we're going to, if you're watching...
I want to say Vegas is 2 hours? Well, 2 hours away from behind me, maybe? Let's see. I have it on my phone.
Because you're an hour behind me.
Vegas, so okay, so I'm in Central Time, right? So right now it's 11:26 p.m. because we record this shit way too late, and Vegas is 2 hours behind me, so it's 3 hours behind you.
Okay.
So if they're starting at 10 o'clock your time, 9 o'clock my time, that means they're starting at 7. So they're starting as a regular show.
Well, they're getting the rare occurrence of a regular time show then, if that's the case. I just because I said it, I was talking to our friend Jake earlier, and he's like, "Oh, that's a good idea because it'll get them some more pay-per-view buys." I'm like, "Yeah, but also you're putting up one company's WrestleMania versus another company's weekly show that's in its wrong time slot. Like both of them would have lost.
So the only thing I can think why they're doing that, they're gonna have a surprise entrance coming from AEW that's getting on, like, as soon as they're gonna be on at the beginning of the show for Dynamite, as soon as their segment's done, they're hopping on a plane and getting to Vegas.
See, I would love to see something cool like that. I really would. But at the same time, it's also kind of cool to think that, like, hey, here's two companies that had a show the same night, and they just sort of slid a little bit and didn't want to step on each other's toes. Like I said forever, when the Wednesday Night War was still a thing, I said push AEW up an hour, push NXT back an hour, have NXT from 7 to 9, and then AEW from 9 to 11, my time. Right? And I'm like, everybody could have been happy. Wednesday night still could have been the go-to night for wrestling. You could have had 4 straight hours of wrestling because people watch both NXT and AEW. Like, right. All that they were doing, like myself, like I would watch NXT, do the NXT review, and then I would sort of go back into my TiVo and watch AEW while I was editing the NXT review. Like, you could have just slid a little bit this way and a little bit this way, and everybody could have been happy, and Wednesday could have been, like, the go-to wrestling night. And I think it's kind of cool to think that Impact and AEW have gone, like, okay, we're going to go from here to here, and then you can go from here to here, and then between the two of us, we'll have the wrestling world's attention for 5 hours.
Right.
It's just a feel-good thing, man. Like, I'm giving all these companies that are working together a lot of credit, and I hope I'm right. Maybe it was just the venue said you can't have the venue until 10. I don't really know. But it was, it's cool for them to shift the pay-per-view. It's definitely cool for them to shift what is probably going to be their biggest pay-per-view of the year, because apparently they're going to have people from Impact, ROH, New Japan, AEW, etc. Like, it's going to be like the mega Walmart pay-per-view from the sounds of it.
Nice.
So, yeah. That was our Rampage review that we started out by saying was going to be really short and really concise, and
it's just going to be, we're just talking about Rampage, like 30 minutes tops.
Not a thing that happens when we record, apparently.
Never.
But it's very tired in here, and Spaz is doing the old head bob, so you're going to tell people where to find you, and we're going to cut this shit out.
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at @Guapo_504. If I get more followers, I'll start to tweet.
At least tweet out the podcast. You guys
sure, why not?
You guys know where to find me, or you wouldn't be here. I've been Spaz. He's been Guapo. I guess we're the AEW reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all of these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later. But for me and Senor Guapo, we are tagging out. Bye, guys.
Adios, mis amigos. AEW, baby!